Hi, everybody. Beth Wietrukowski, Michael Saunders and Company. We're here to talk about the three most common loans that people use when they're buying a house in this area. There's a lot of different kinds of loans. There's a lot of different kind of loan products. But we're going to talk about the three most common ones that I'm actually asked about on a regular basis. So let's start with the first one. The first one is conventional. Most people prefer to go with that is you do have to have a decent credit score, but it actually gets you a little bit further, and we'll go into that in a little bit. Yes, you can get a conventional loan with 5% down. You do not, I repeat, you do not have to have 20% down to buy a house. A lot of people seem to think that, and that's actually not exactly true. Now, if you're buying this for your own personal use, this is the case. If you're buying it as an investment, the rules are slightly different. You might hear 20% if you're buying a condo. Reason is this. There is a review that is done on the condo by your lender. If you put 20% down or more, then they do a limited condo review versus a full review. This works to your advantage for a couple of reasons. If the rental to ownership ratio is a little out of whack and you still want to buy there, that might be a problem with your lender. Another thing is if there's lawsuits. I sold a condo to a friend of mine, it's been about 2 years now, where there was a frivolous lawsuit. A lady was walking on the sidewalk near the pool and tripped and fell. And she sued the condo saying that the sidewalks weren't cared for and that they had become uneven, and tied the association up in a lawsuit. And it was a really frivolous, ridiculous lawsuit. She didn't win. But those are the kind of things that will sometimes give your lenders pause. And that's why a 20% down payment is good. But you don't have to have 20% down to buy a condo. FHA, that is a government-backed loan, and they are getting more common around here. You can do it for as little as 3 or 4% down. Your credit score does not have to be as high as it does for a conventional loan. The rates are different. The only thing that there's two kind of hitches with that. A lot of people in this area, it takes a bit more work to get sellers to accept an FHA loan because not everybody understands how they work. Also, if you are buying a house with an FHA loan, it must pass the appraisal. The appraisal for an FHA loan involves more than a conventional loan. Because it's a government-backed loan, your appraiser is going to look for things like rotten wood, that the windows open and close, and certain things like that. There's more functionality involved in your appraisal than with a conventional loan. The conventional loan, the appraisal, the only thing they're looking for is actual value. If the windows don't open properly or if there's some wood rots, they don't care about that. They just take that into account as far as what they value the house at. Now, you can get around that by doing a renovation loan. If you do an FHA renovation loan, the appraiser will come in with that knowledge and appraise the property appropriately. And that's a whole nother segment on how these renovation loans work. But the end result is if you're buying a house for $250,000 and you want to borrow $300,000 because you're going to put $50,000 into it, the house has to appraise for $300,000. So you also need to make sure that when you're buying a property with an FHA, that the top number, the finished end result number, is what it will appraise for. And sometimes that's the case, and sometimes that's not the case. So those are things we have to be really careful of. If you're going to get a house with an FHA loan, and you don't want to go the renovation loan, we're going to very carefully review which properties we put an offer in on because it has to pass that appraisal process. So you can't have, like I said, wood rot, windows that don't work, peeling paint, baseboards that are missing. You have to have all your appliances and, things like that. And that's a list that we'll make sure that we tackle. So the house has to be in really good shape. VA loan. This is for our veterans. And there are different amounts that veterans qualify for. It's based on a lot of things. It's based on time served, rank, have they used their benefits yet, or have they not used their benefits yet, and things like that. And there's a whole different process for a VA loan. The only hitch or strange thing about a VA loan that people have to be aware of is that a veteran is not allowed to pay for their WDO, or wood destroying organism inspection, or termite inspection, however you want to pay for that. That cost is often passed on to the seller. Now, when I'm representing my VA buyers, I just pay for it myself. And the reason I do that is I don't want a stupid $50 bill to prevent my buyer from getting the property they want because the seller doesn't understand how this works. If you are buying with a VA, you need to have a really, really good lender who understands the process and is willing to talk to the listing agent and the seller about what they are responsible for and not responsible for, because a lot of people in this area just don't understand that. Another thing is too, is if for some reason, and this counts with FHA as well, but most particularly with VA, what we need to do is make sure that the property will pass the appraisal process much like a FHA loan, because these are both government-backed loans. So the appraisal process is slightly different. If with a VA loan, your VA appraiser comes in and says, this is not up to standard, you must fix XYZ, whatever it is, they will come back to reappraise. If they have to come back to reappraise, the buyer, your veteran, is not allowed to pay for that appraisal. That cost goes to the seller. So again, you need to make sure that the property you're purchasing for your veteran is in good shape and will pass that appraisal process. So it really helps to have someone who has done, and with FHA, who has done these loans before as a realtor, so that we know what to look for and what not to look for. And typically speaking, unless we get a rogue appraiser, which doesn't really happen that much, not like you hear about, it's not that common. Typically speaking, we can walk into properties and I can tell you this will pass or this won't pass, and we can go from there. The goal of that is to have seller fix said item before the appraiser comes out, and then it'll pass the appraisal process, and then we don't have to have the property reappraised. So in a nutshell, it's a lot of information, I know, and we should probably do a video where I break each individual loan specifically down and answer a bunch of questions there. So conventional loan, yes, you can get one for as little as 5% down. That is the easiest, less strenuous, less hoops to jump through loan as far as it goes. It's because it's not government backed. Your FHA and VA loans are government backed. There are a few more hoops to jump through. The kind of properties that we put an offer in on are going to be different than with a conventional loan. Conventional loan, you can buy a fixer-upper. FHA, unless you go with a renovation loan, you really can't. It's got to be in good shape. Again, these are government-backed loans, FHA and VA. The whole point is they're protecting their investment, and with a VA loan, there's more things to be aware of because these are our veterans. They're looking out for our veterans, as they should be. So there's more things that we need to be aware of. The big important thing is to have a realtor who understands all three loans, and if can explain it to listing agent should these loans come through, because not everybody understands our government-backed loans. And the other thing is to make sure you've got a lender who understands this stuff down pat, because there are multiple steps with a VA loan and FHA loan that are not necessarily involved with your conventional loan. So anyway, I hope everybody's having a great day. It's supposed to be beautiful again today because we live in paradise. Wear your sunscreen, drink a lot of water. If you have any questions about these loans, throw it in the comments and I'll make sure they get answered. If you have any questions about real estate in general, throw it in the comments. I'll make sure we tackle those questions. And I hope you have a great day. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again on Monday. Bye, everybody.